In this video tutorial, we're going to be setting up our infrastructure whereby we will be installing and deploying Active Directory. And we already know that Active Directory is our daily service whereby all end users will have access by way of unique usernames, passwords, set computers, printers, mobile devices, you name it. All of this stuff is going to be in one big said service or network that everyone will have access to. So Active Directory is basically the main hub for all of this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up our infrastructure by way of having our two virtual machines through the Azure portal. One will be our domain controller. The other is going to be our client. And we're going to do prerequisites for both, whereby later on, the client is going to be joined to said domain controller. Within all of this, we're going to be setting up the admin who's going to have access to it all. We're going to be creating and populating random users by way of script. We're also going to be setting up group policy where we'll be locking and unlocking accounts, disabling and enabling, re-enabling rather, accounts. And at the end, we're also going to be observing the logs where all all said accounts were locked out and were re-enabled along the way as well. So yes, for the scope of everything, yeah, it seems like a whole lot, but once broken down to the best of terms, everything will be pretty much understood. So for everybody that's in the know, congratulations to you. For those that don't know, well, just like me, you're going to be learning along the way. All right. All right, everybody, as my page reloads, we're about to go back into the Azure portal as we open back up. And the first thing that we are going to do along this way is we are going to set up our resource group. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our resource group. So let's chime back in here. I believe in the practice of all, I believe we still got it all set up. So we're going to go ahead and click create. All right, here we go. And enablers, yes, we still have it in here. We had it saved. So this is going to be Active Directory Lab. And we're going to have it in US East US. So that's where we are located. So we're just going to hit review and create. And hit create. And our resource group is created and in the bucket. All right. So now we're going to take it back here. And now we're going to go ahead and manually create our virtual network. So we're going to go ahead and create that here. And I believe this is saved as well. So yes, we already have this. We're going to call this AD-lab-vnet. In East US East, that's where we are. We're going to hit review and create, get it validated, and go ahead and create our, our virtual network. We're going to let that deploy. That's going to take a couple of, and we are good to go. We are good to go. Let it run a couple more minutes. All right. And now that we have that established, we have our VNet. We'll go back here and we're going to go to virtual network. You can click here or you can go into the search box and type virtual network. So go ahead, click here for virtual network. And we're going to go ahead and click create. And we have our Azure virtual network, excuse me. Click that open. All right. We're going to be setting up our DC1, our domain controller from here. So we already have our Active Directory Lab resource group. So everything is going to be located here. And this one is going to be called DC-1. All right. And put that in US East. And security is good. In our image, this is going to be Windows Server. So go to Windows Server 2022 here. And we also have our two CPUs. Excuse me. You want to get two or more. And you also know that when the price right here is mostly when you're running this continuous 24/7, 365, or basically 24/7 for the month. So we're not running it for that long. So don't worry about the price. Just know at the end of the lab, just you're so desired to go ahead and stop these and keep those on. I mean, stop and put it to the side when you're ready to come back to them. But that aside, just know that you have two virtual CPUs right here. So two or more. So now we're just going to put in our credentials. We're going is lab user, and the password is cyberlab 123 and exclamation point, and one more time. And now we got that in. Don't forget to check the licensing thingy down here. We go to next. Go to networking. Our VNet has already been set up and created, so that's in place. Everything on the default is correct. So all you do now is review and create. Let's get our validation going on here. All right, I believe our validation is coming in. After we get our validation, we're going to go ahead and create our domain controller. All right, validation is good. So we're going to go ahead and create this bad boy. All right, our deployment is complete. Our DC1 is now in place. So what we're going to do from here is we are going to go into DC1 and we're going to set its virtual IP address to static. All right, get out of here. Get out of here, you. So we're going to go into DC1. We're going to go into our networking. Go into network, go into network settings. We're going to go into DC1's network interface card, NIC card. Click into here. And then we're going to scroll down. Well, in my case, we're going to stroll on down to IP config. Yes, stroll on down. And right here, edit IP configuration, we're going to change the private IP settings from dynamic to static. So when everything from the client is pinging to here, there will be some correspondence back to our client one virtual machine when after we set it up. So now that we have this set to static, go ahead and hit save. And this will not take too long for it to save. And then from here, we are going to go into, and that is a good look. So take it and circle back to the home screen. So now what we're going to do from here is we are going to go into we're going to go into our virtual machines. We're going to go into DC1, and what we're going to do is we are going to turn DC1's firewall settings off. So from here, we are going to go into, just got to do 1-2 changes here. Go through 1 or 2 changes here. So we're going to go back here and we are going to, well, first we're going to go back to DC1 and we're going to grab DC1's public IP right here. As soon as you go into DC1, just go right here and hit copy for DC1's public IP address. And we are now going to go and we're going to remote desktop into DC1. Clear that out. And we're going to remote desktop into DC1. All right, lab user and the password. And we're going to hit enter and enter. And this will sign us into DC1's DC1's virtual machine as we are getting set up. Alrighty. I believe we should be in here. Everything. Let me go ahead and get a screen here. So we go ahead and get a screen here so you can see, everybody can see what's going on. And all right, we have now our client one is set up and now up and running. And I apologize. In the midst of me explaining what was going on with the domain controller, I forgot to unpause to continue the recording. So to back things up real quick with DC1, what we did in DC1 was that we went and we changed DC1's private IP address from dynamic to static. And how we did that was from networking. We went into our network settings. We went into DC1's NIC card, or network interface configuration card. We went here and we strolled down to IP config, and we set DC1's private IP from dynamic to static. So we've already done this step. I'm just walking you back through. And from here, we went and we went from here to DC1's virtual machine right here. And what we did was we went here, run, and we went into DC1's firewall, and we changed the firewall settings and turned everything off. So we went here to Windows Firewall in DC1, went into the firewall properties, and as you can see from domain profile, private profile, public profile, these were all turned off. And now that's leading us to the next stage, which is going to have us remote desktop into client one. And we're going to change client one's, well, before we do that, we're going into client one, and we're going to set client one's IP to DC1's IP, if that makes sense. We're going to change client one's IP settings to DC1's private IP address, and then we're going to restart client one, and then we are going to remote desktop into client one, and we're going to ping to DC1 to make sure that the connection is steady and everything is square biz. So with that being said, we're going to go back to our we're going to go back to DC1. We're going to go into we're going to go back here. We're going to go not the DC1 rather. We're going to go into our virtual machines. We're going to go into client 1. And now we're going to client 1, we're going to change the settings to DC1's private IP address. So from here, we're going to go to networking. We're going to go into network settings. We're going to go into client 1's NIC card. We're going to go into DNS servers. And we are now going to set client 1's DNS to DC1's private IP. So from inherit from a virtual network, we're going to go to custom and we're going to type in DC1's private IP, which is 10.0.0.4. And we're going to click save. All right, we are hidden and holy, as my grandmother would say. So we're going to go from here. We're going to go back to client 1. And now that that's set, we are going to restart client 1. Click that and click yes. And we are restarting client 1. Give this a few. And we are good to go. Client 1 has now been restarted. So now what we're going to do from here is we are going to now, before we do that, we stay here. We're going to get client 1's public IP address because we are now going to remote desktop into client 1. So that here. Paste that there, hit connect, and put in our credentials. And we are inside of client 1. As we wait, as the world turns. And now that we are here, we can go ahead and turn all of these off. All right. We are now inside our client 1, and we are now going to go ahead and run this as such. We're going to go ahead and we're going to now ping client 1 to DC1. So we're going to go ahead and go inside here in our search box, and we're going to get PowerShell, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to ping DC1 0.0. 1.4, and all right, we have great response. So that means that everything is up and running. So now to make sure that everything is still a go, we're going to type in ipconfig space all, and bam, everything is up and running and everything is good to go. As you can see, everything is coming through from DC1's private IP. So we have our infrastructure set up and everything is good to go. On the next go around, we will be setting up install and deployment of Active Directory, as well as creating our admin and setting up our folders for our employees, our admins, our clients within our Active Directory. So we're going to see you on the other side.